Good morning. Welcome to Atlantic Blowout on Atlantic Television Network. This is a syndicated program of the network featuring chit-chatting and conversation on special interest topics, news, events, and stories through correspondence reports, expert opinion, and stakeholders analysis. In the headlines for today, the first is from Rivers State that Tinubu signs bill to establish university in Ogoni. In Lagos State, TCC CTC certificate mandatory for free WAEC exams. This is coming from Lagos State Internal Revenue. On the presidency, Tinubu seeks dismissal of suits filed for his impeachment. On the healthcare sector, FEC approves 4.8 billion naira for HIV treatment amidst U.S. suspension. In tariff hike, NLC suspends planned protest after meeting with FG. Also under the tariff war, Canada pauses threats to ban U.S. firms and Starlink deal. We are open for advert placements, bookings, and commercials. You can connect with us on all our 810 socials on Facebook and YouTube, on Atlantic Television Network on Instagram and TikTok, on Atlantic TV Network on Twitter, on Atlantic TV Net, which is live on our website at www.atlantic.net.org.tv. We'll go on a quick break. When we return, we will continue the rest of the story. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Joining us is a public affairs analyst and a social commentator, Enyumoson Mufasa. Thank you so much for being here, Mufasa.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chidima, for having me as always.
Thank you for being here as always to share your analysis with us.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Right into the story for today. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has officially signed a bill establishing the Federal University of Environmental Technology in Ogoni, Rivers State. This was announced on Monday in a statement by Bola Daniel, Special Advisor to the President on Policy Communication. He emphasized that the move aligns with the Tinubu administration's renewed hope agenda, which prioritized correcting past inequalities and building inclusive institutions for balanced national development. To President Tinubu, there are no minority ethnicity in Nigeria, he said. He believes in the opening stanza of our national anthem, which states that though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. The announcement was met with congratulations for the people of Ogoni, with Daniel noting that the establishment of the university is part of the president's efforts to fulfill his mandate for national development and unity. Considering the oil spillage and whatnot, the Ogoni indigenes have been complaining in time past, even up to now. Do you think this is what they actually need at the moment? You know, if we have to recall the time that President Bola Tinubu actually called for the Ogoni leaders and all of that to have a discussion with them. You know, I don't know if this was one of the things that he listed he would do for them in order to have a peace pact over what has been going on in Ogoni land. I would love to get your thoughts concerning this too.
Yeah, well, firstly, let me say that it's quite commendable. You know, we can't have enough higher institutions in the country. Okay, there can never be a time where you say that we have more than enough, you know. But then again, assessment, okay. In basic economics, there's what they call the scale of preference, you know, foregone alternatives and all of that. So, in a scale of preference, looking at what the Ogoni people are clamoring for, should this have come first in the to-do list of what the government should do for the Ogoni people? Like Riley said, we have not fully, you know, gone up to 15% in the cleanup of Ogoni land, especially as it has to do with the UNEP reports. People, I'm aware that already there is a polytechnic in Bori, you know, and I'm also aware that the polytechnic is not, you know, getting the full attention of government. That is a federal institution. So I don't know, at times God leaders, they do these things just to, mesmerize the people, get them carried away so that they can achieve whatever they want to achieve. But if this approval, is done with sincerity of purpose and intention, why this is, giving attention, every other aspect of human endeavor, especially those basic necessities, talking about provision of potable drinking water. That is one of the major key items that was meant to serve as a precursor before even anything should take place, because even in the UNEP reports it was clearly stated that you must provide water, provide roads for the people. After doing that, then element axis of the east-west road, that is the gateway to almost all the communities in Ogoniland. That road has been under construction for decades. In as much as, I must really commend the current Minister for Works, talking about Dave Umahi. So far so good, so much has been done. But for me, it's taking too long. So let us look at issues and pick up things on a scale of preference. I think that will now show to the people that the government has a strong desire to bring development to the Ogoni people and every other thing that is supposed to be the entitlement of the people. Let us not forget, it is not a privileged, like you are doing the people a favor. It's their entitlement. So government should show responsibility, and that is what they were elected to do. So for me, there's nothing wrong in setting up, a university of what they call it again, university of technological development. So in as much as that is a welcome development, let us also look at every facet of human endeavor, especially those basic needs and necessities of the people.
Okay. Thank you, Mufasa. Well, it's more like you've spoken the mind of the people. I really hope you have. But do you think, in essence, they will decline or reject this offer, considering on first before we get into this? Like you also said, it's a commendable one as it stands, but this should not be the first step that should be taken by the federal government. Do you think the people of Ogoniland will accept this?
No, well, you saw they said it was greeted with excitement, even though we are yet to see the actual excitement in the faces of the people. I told you, and you're much aware.
The stakeholders that were invited, and well, most of them will often say yes because they will feel like it's a welcome development. Because they feel like it's a step by the president, because he has actually called for a courtesy visit, that they have. So they will feel like, okay, this is actually an instance, like they stated, one of the national anthem in brotherhood we stand and all of that. So this is one act to show you that we're part of you. But considering the main problem that the Ogoniland are going through, do you think they will still accept this?
I know that this is just a deliberate move by the president to work his way into the hearts of the Ogoni people. We are very much aware that, primarily the government really wants oil exploration to commence in Ogoniland. This could be one of the panacea or a way of trying to patronize the people. Let us, if we want to be completely fair, when you set up that institution, it's going to create jobs for the people. It's going to bring investors into the land, because a higher institution to a large extent has a lot of other multiplier effects positively. What I'm saying is simply this: there are issues already on the ground. The cleanup, for instance, what level have they reached? Road infrastructure, these are some of the things that needed to be put in place so that we do not put the cart before the horse. Things has to be done in an appropriate manner. Okay, now let me just digress a little. I'm aware that a special university was meant to be, in fact, if it has gotten approval in a community in Delta State, in the riverine area, I think in Baramatu or thereabout, in Marine University. And, obviously you can do the findings. Nothing is happening there, because one thing is to give an approval. Another thing is to put all the necessary things in place. That's why I said, what is the nature of the basic infrastructure in that area? So that when you are putting a university, you know that it can meet up with, the basic needs. You understand what I'm saying? You don't know just, when you give an approval, it's assumed that the thing has already kicked off. Monies will be released, and Nigerians with our own way of making mockery of good idea, like I've said, is there's nothing wrong in it, but let us do things accordingly so that we do not jump the guns while trying to patronize the people.
Okay, thank you so much in that, Mukasa. Moving forward, Lagos State Internal Revenue Service has maintained that a tax clearance certificate of the parents or guardians of SS3 students in state-funded secondary schools is mandatory for them to access the free West African Examinations Council registration provided by the state government. In a statement issued on Monday, the agency reiterated that it's a standard procedure to require a TCC to access government services. The Lagos State government offers free education from kindergarten to SS3 as part of East Thames Plus agenda, which includes the government's broader efforts to provide essential services such as affordable housing, efficient transportation, free healthcare, youth and small business empowerment programs, enhanced security and better road infrastructure, among others. Executive Chairman of LIRS, Mr. Ayo Subir, in the statement said it's a standard procedure to require a tax clearance certificate to access government services. To obtain a TCC, individuals must file their annual tax returns for the applicable assessment year and ensure their tax payments are currently based on their declared income. It is important to emphasize that every resident of the state, whether in formal employment or not, is required by law to file annual tax returns declaring their income and paying any taxes due. Lagos State is one state that I don't know if the states want to leave Nigeria and form a different country. Well, I would love to get your thoughts on this first.
I think it's a very laudable initiative.
Yeah.
I mean, like you rightly said, I have equally made that observation one time or the other, that Lagos State is operating as though it's a separate and distinct entity from the Nigerian state. And for me, I think it's a good one. I mean, if every other state of the federation move in such direction, I'm sure the army of people, the influx of people into Lagos would reduce drastically. You agree with me that a lot of Nigerians are moving into Lagos just because of things like this, and for me, it's a good one. Even if you go to countries in Europe and America, the taxis are basically what they use, to drive the economy. But let us also not forget, when we are taxing the people, we should also provide, like what was read out, that providing social welfare, quality. Basic amenities and all of that. So for me, there's nothing wrong. My own concern is the process has to be seamless. It has to be closely monitored so that people don't get victimized at the end of the day. The way we operate in this country, we have issues of favoritism, nepotism, and so we should move away from that. People should be considered for some of these things based on merits. You don't look at your certain political inclinations, religious inclinations, for people to, get benefit from some of these largesse of government. But basically, I think it's a good one, and like I've said before, every other states of this country should look at what Lagos is doing and emulate, you know, so that, you know, development can just, you know, spread around the length and breadth of this country. We don't necessarily need to rely so much on federal allocation. As a state, you know, you must look inward and think of what you can do, you know, and also, you know, add it to what you get as federal allocation, make life better for your people, giving them quality road infrastructure, healthcare, social services, and all of that. So it's a good one. I want to say kudos to the government for that.
Thank you, Mufasa. I want to ask a quick question. Most of this manual small-scale business owners, like the market women that do not have idea about things like this, and they have children that are actually eligible to get into the to write the WAEC exams. How are they supposed to make payment of those tax? TCC have this TCC certificate in order for all their children to enroll or get be beneficials of this free WAEC exams.
Well, of course, you saw that they mentioned the informal sector. You know, this category of people, the market traders, the artisans, and people who are not civil servants, they make up the informal sector. Now, how do they now have access to the tax clearance certificate? That is where the government comes into, you know, the scheme of things. There has to be a robust and deliberate orientation of the people. You need to make them know how they can equally get this TCC. You understand? Because everybody pays tax. One way or the other, you pay tax. So there has to be a platform, you know, that would create that enabling, you know, environment for some of these persons to benefit from schemes like this. So the government has to go a step further, creating awareness, sensitizing and conscientizing the people on how to go about, so that everybody, including children of, you know, of the market traders, can benefit from, you know, such brilliant scheme. Because if they don't do it like that, a lot of people wouldn't know, you know, how to go about it. That is when you now see that, you know, the thing now falls back to the children of the elites and the aristocrats. Ordinarily, this kind of programs are supposed to be meant for even the market traders. And so if they don't know, that's why they say if you are not informed, you are deformed. And what will bring about such deformity is lack of information, ignorance. And it is the part of the government to provide information for the people sufficiently, using both traditional means, conventional means, and every other means, so that everybody can be duly carried along.
These women actually do not have access to social media and other form of
agreed, but they listen to radio, they watch television. These are the things that, you know, even organizing town halls, going to the rural areas, making them understand how they can be part of it. You know, like I've said before, everybody pays tax, but it's not everybody that knows how to get the TCC. It is the onus now lies on the government to provide a platform and give them the necessary guidance so that they can also benefit from it. If they don't do that, it's going to, you know, be a one-way show, which has always been the case, where you see those who have the wherewithal, those who have the opportunities, those who have the resources, still benefiting from schemes like this, whereas the people who are meant to benefit from it, whose resources, you know, cannot give them quality education because of the high cost of quality education in this country. They don't, you know, seems to benefit from it. So government should go as far as getting to the hinterlands, those rural areas, going to the markets, going to the motor parks, to conscientize and sensitize the people. This is what is on ground, and this is how you can benefit from the scheme. If you don't know what TCC is, it's an opportunity to educate them on what tax clearance certificate is and how they can get it. So it's as simple as that.
Thank you on that. I would want to ask a quick question. You made mention of some states that should implement this particular process that Lagos State has implemented. There are certain states that are yet to pay the minimum wage. In that instance, do you think it is something that most of those states will want to do?
No, the thing is, there's a way, there is a will, there is a way. That you cannot pay minimum wage is even is an error. You get you have a lot of things that you can harness to run your state. I also made mention of how states should think outside the box, away from relying so much on federal allocation. As a state, there are a lot of things that you can tinker on and come up with, innovations that can drive the economy of your state, unless you don't just want to be innovative and creative. There is no state in this country today, there is no state governor that will tell me that the states cannot pay the minimum wage unless they don't want to pay. The first thing you should do is try to get a comprehensive number of your workforce. You don't operate a system where you don't even know the number of civil servants that you have in the state. Oh, we have an over bloated, workforce and all of that. What has the state done to do a comprehensive census? Everything has gone digital. You should know the number of civil servants that you have and what goes into, a recurrent expenditure. So for me, no state should come out and begin to say these things to me. They are just being dishonest. Otherwise, all these are something that does not even amount to nothing that a state governor, a state government can do for its people. It's not rocket science.
You say that a lot.
Yeah, it's not rocket science.
Thank you, Mufasa. President Bola Tinubu has asked the Federal High Court in Abuja to dismiss a suit that is seeking to compel the National Assembly to initiate impeachment proceedings against him over alleged rights violations. The plaintiff, in his suit that has an Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Prince Lateef Fagbemi San, as the second defendant, is seeking 6 principal reliefs from the court. He urged the court to declare that alleged persistent suppression of peaceful protests organized by Nigerian citizens by the president-led administration amounts to an impeachable offense. The plaintiff maintained that Section 143 of the 1999 Constitution, as amended, empowered the NAS to set machinery in motion for President Tinubu's impeachment. However, in a joint preliminary objection they filed against the suit, both President Tinubu and the AGF queried the locus standi, which is a legal right of the plaintiff, to institute the action. Aside from praying the court to dismiss the suit for being incompetent, the defendant insisted that the action failed to disclose any reasonable course of action to warrant an exercise of judicial discretion in his favor. This is one out of many that has actually come to speak against the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu-led administration. Are we supposed to get consent over this, please?
No, but there are issues raised. Violation of human rights, okay, and coming out to outrightly say that the court should dismiss, I'm sure, it's for the lawyers, representing the government, talking about the Attorney General of the Federation, to present its fact in case. You don't just come out and you command a judge to dismiss, allegation leveled against you. It is left for the courts to look at, the merits of the matter and decide on whether or not this should fly. But honestly speaking, I know this is just an academic exercise. Calling for the impeachment of the president is a very tall order because of the kind of system we operate. I don't know, I can't remember any time that anybody has been impeached, especially has to do with the executive arm of government. So it's somebody trying to, take up a serious matter, because I'm aware that some persons were suppressed, repressed and subdued, when ordinarily the Constitution has guaranteed every Nigerian the right to protest, peaceful protest, you know, especially in the face of, you know, disenchantment with government policies. The question is, are these people really, do they have the moral justification to protest? The answer is yes. The second question is, are Nigerians really going through difficult times as a result of the policy somersault and bad governance? The answer is yes. So why then do you have to, you know, try to suppress the people from speaking out? You know, so let the president and his people understand that this is a democratic system of government. We saw how minors were incarcerated, you know, arraigned and tried for treason. And if not for the intervention of some certain, you know, individuals, that's how those, you know, young lads, you know, would have been in prison just because they came out to protest, you know, bad governance and hunger. You know, so we shouldn't, you know, how do I put it? We shouldn't be ignorant of certain facts, especially on the part of the presidency. Okay, when you say the court should dismiss the matter on local Sunday, what are the issues? The court need to look at the issues.
And why did the court not look at the issues?
No, but because of the system we operate. We operate a system where, you know, you can't even tell if there is separation of power, if the different arms of government are really separated from each other.
And
otherwise,
according to the story, he actually adjourned the case, you know, when he was asked to, and without, like you said, without looking
critically, you know, at the merit of the matter. That's what I'm saying. But it's everything just amounts to an academic exercise. I know it won't fly. Even the National Assembly, that it is even calling, the individual is calling on the National Assembly to equally look at the issues. I have said it before that this administration has zero tolerance to criticism. And it's anti-democratic. You know, when people come out to speak, to ventilate their disenchantment, their dissatisfaction with government, this is a democracy.
Is it because there's this immunity on the federal government?
Immunity, that is equally, you know, a major encumbrance.
But is that supposed to be a good reason to violate human rights?
No, but have they agreed they violated human rights? That's the issue. They've not agreed. They are telling you that, you know, the government has, you know, a very high tolerance, you know, spirit. But that's not true. That's not true. Nigerians are saying that we are not okay with your style of government. And they gave specific timeline for government to sit up. Even as the protest was on in the streets, the president had the opportunity to speak to Nigerians. He said there's nothing he can do. Instead of trying to make Nigerians understand that, of course, you know, we are trying to put things in place, and these are what we have put in place. It's not just to come and begin to tell us by mere words of mouth. We are not saying anything. You know, they arrested some persons and tried them for treason. I don't know at what point does peaceful protest, civil disobedience is equally guaranteed in our constitutions. There are relevant sections of the constitution that I cannot quote verbatim at this moment that gives a Nigerian the right to civil, disobedience. Because one, there has to be a reason. There has to be a reason. What are the issues? Are these issues real? Has the government addressed this issue in such a way that the issues need to be addressed? That's let us not be operating our own kind of democracy. Democratic tenets is universal. There's nothing like a Nigerian kind of democracy, but unfortunately, that's what we have. A democratic system that does not allow for people to criticize government and government policies. So if a Nigerian has seen and observed that this government, this administration has zero tolerance to criticism, has zero tolerance for people who complain about the bad nature of government, you know, then it has every right to call on the National Assembly to look into the facts look at the fact of the matter. I said, look at the fact of the matter and do what is necessary.
Do you think the National Assembly will look into this matter critically?
The answer is blowing in the wind already. It's an emphatic no. A National Assembly that had opportunity to quiz the president when he presented the budget stood up and began to sing, on your mandate we shall stand. Both party and opposition, elements in the party, in the National Assembly. So what does that tell you? That the National Assembly, as an arm of government, has been captured by the executive arm of government at the expense of the people that they were meant to represent. That is an anathema.
Where's the story that the president is considering coming back for the next 4 years into return and continue his tenure, in Nigeria, considering all the outbreak that's been coming from Nigerians and the protests, criticism, and all of that. Do you think this calls for concern? Do you think this is something that we need to be afraid of? Also thinking the fact that the president has not accepted that the policies put in place is not to the benefit of Nigerians. Do you think Nigerians have to be afraid or have to, sleep with one eye open?
No,
if there's a word like that.
No, well, you see, being afraid is like one, resigning to fate. Like you have reached the state of hopelessness. Nigeria.
Do you think some Nigerians have not reached that stage?
Of course, that is the impression that the government wants to create. Because if you go after opposition elements, if you start arresting and speaking harshly to people who are registering their concerns, who are speaking against bad government policies, the idea is to create fear in the minds of the people. Of course, like you rightly said, a handful of Nigerians are already scared. When you speak, they will come after you, regardless of who or what you represent. Even senators are not even spared. You saw what happened to Abdulmumin Ningi when he identified something very important, that certain things that were captured in the budget, that monies were appropriated for, didn't pass through the due process. He was vilified by his own colleagues. He was suspended, and that matter was not investigated. Then, what was the name of this other guy? The Bonu man, Ali Undume, Senator Ali Undume. He was even suspended at the time as, from occupying the position of a principal office in the Senate. So if crocodile...
Welcome back. In response to the recent suspension of U.S. development assistance, the Federal Executive Council has approved a 4.8 billion naira funding package to sustain HIV treatment programs across the country. The announcement was made on Monday by the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Muhammad Ali Pateh, following a FEC meeting presided over by President Bola Tinubu at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. Pateh revealed at the post-effect media briefing that the approved funds will cover the procurement of 150,000 treatment packs for HIV patients over the next 4 months. According to Pateh, even before the U.S. government aid suspension, as Nigeria continues to receive support from international partners in the fight against HIV, tuberculosis and malaria, Pateh emphasized that the government decided to take more responsibility in investing domestic resources into critical health programs. The Council agreed on the formation of a committee to oversee the transition and sustainability plan, especially as the U.S. government conducts its 90-day review of aid policies. This is an important signal that the federal government is committed to ensuring that life-saving treatments remain accessible despite the changing dynamics in external support, he stated. Are you aware that at some point Trump signed executive order to withdraw funding to most countries, including Nigeria, funding the HIV, malaria, and tuberculosis treatments? You're aware about that?
Yeah, I'm aware.
Okay, and then they came back and said that they're going to give 90-day suspension on that, and to review and check if it's something they want to consider or
or they put a complete stop
to it. But this coming from the federal government, we could say it's a commendable one, and we hope it's something that would be maintained for a long period of time if eventually the United States decides to suspend the funding. But I'd love to get your thoughts on this, please.
Oh, well, commendable, yes and no. When you rely so much on other people, this is the kind of consequences, result that you get, okay? The only commendable aspect of the move by the government is the swift response to the suspension, temporary suspension. We do not know if they will put an outright ban, And when you look at the policies of this new president of the United States of America, he has said that he's going to put America first, which means as he came into government, he's reviewing all the Americans' foreign policies, relationship, aids, and what have you. He needs to balance the books. These are some of the things that we need to learn as a nation. When you rely so much on other people for almost everything, Nigeria is a complete consuming nation. Look at how we are running helter-skelter. Why is it such a big deal for Nigeria as a country to look at the vast natural resources that we have? We have herbs in. A friend of mine said we have bitter leaf growing like a careless grass. Do you know the potency of bitter leaf?
Yes, I know.
We have lots of other plants. Why can't our own government put so much money in research and research institutes so that we can equally be exporting these HIV retroviral drugs? Yes, we can do it if we want to do it. But rather, we prefer to just sit down and allow all manner of things to come into this country as grant and aids. The ones that they don't have use for anymore. I'm not talking about, I'm just looking holistically at the condition, the compromising situation we've placed ourselves. Nigeria is in a compromising situation. Because if the door closes, we start running helter-skelter. Otherwise, why can't we invest in research? We have higher institutions almost every part of the local governments, some local governments in the country. What are they doing? What is the government doing about research? The other day, one of our own famous doctor, Dr. Jeremiah Balaka, I'm sure he's out of this country, and he came out to say that he has a cure to HIV. And he was shut down. God knows the cartel or cabal that runs that. But if we have a country that is determined and willing to move away from the old order, by now we will not even be interested in getting AIDS for HIV. God, we will be producing our own. Malaria, tuberculosis. We have abundance of roots and herbs that can be converted, researched on, so that some of these things can be produced in this country. So, for me, I'm not excited. Of course, without any offense, without any form of not being sympathetic, without not being empathetic to people living with HIV. Of course, they are the ones that will suffer for it. I'm not still excited, because if we had laid our bed well, we'll be sleeping well on the bed. We will not be handicapped. We will not be stranded in this manner that we are trying to, do emergency, dressing. So we must look at the things from a broader, perspective. Let us see how we can create things for ourselves. Let us look at how we can build things for ourselves. How we can, on our own, consider also sending aids and grants and and medical facilities, equipments to other countries. We shouldn't be a consuming nation, wholesale. We should be proud of that. These are the issues. So, as a country, we are not moving forward. We are not moving forward, because America have this is now okay. Even the over 4 billion naira that has been earmarked, who is going to monitor how the money will be spent? This is going to serve as another opportunity for those dishonest people that we have everywhere in the corridors of power to want to take advantage and help themselves with some of these things because of the rot in the system. So for me, this should serve as an opportunity, as a wake-up call for the government to invest in research and research institutions.
I wanted to ask you, you made mention of how the disbursements and all of that, monitoring how this money is to be spent. If we look at for the period of time that US has actually been sponsoring, funding this treatment, if we check then they have actually done regulations to make sure that this monies were actually implemented so well that the medication, the treatment, gets across every patient that is affected with HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria and whatnot. Most of the free medications that were actually sent into the country. That is why most of those people got them. Considering what you talked about, the roads and all of that, if this gets implemented in Nigeria, though if I may recall, it's about 500 million naira grants, $500 million grants that has been disbursed for Nigeria. Do you think that they will implement this? If we have to look at most of the sectors and what has been going on when monies are released for a particular purpose, and especially the health sector, that we've had several doctors complaining about the facilities, just facilities, and then here we're getting this from Federal Executive Council about approving this 4.8 billion naira. Do you think it's something that they would want to keep to and make sure it's implemented, like the U.S. has actually been putting on?
No. You see, like I've said before, that we always have a way of, downplaying things that should have been given so much importance. Now, first of all, let us look at the number of people living with some of these ailments. Talking about HIV, talking about tuberculosis, talking about malaria. We do not have an accurate data that will sum up the aggregate number of people that are living with this ailment. Of course, some persons don't come out, but even as a country that has completely undermined the importance of having a database of the people you are even budgeting this amount for. Most times, these things, they keep it in, in inappropriate environments. Some of them, they eventually they get bad. Some persons even go as far as selling it. So these are what, could amount to the rot in the system. Now that we are spending our own money, this is not coming from, outside the country. And already we have an issue with accountability, both on the part of political office holders and on the part of the administrative heads in the ministry of and departments, agencies of government. We have completely lost touch with accountability. And that is because these things have been allowed to fester for a longer period of time. It's going a long way to buttress the saying that when abomination stays too long in a society, it becomes a way of life. Everybody do what they like with impunity. So as a country, we need to take deep introspection. That is if there is a will to repair the system. And the starting point is to see how to place on the table what are the necessary things that we need for so and so sector to strive. Like the egg sector, for instance, pharmaceutical. Should we be importing things that as a country we can produce for ourselves and equally export to outside country, generating revenue for the country? We must continuously have real discussions on the part of civil society, on the part of the National Assembly, and on the part of government. Unless that is considered, anything that we do is seen as a dishonest approach that is lacking sincerity of purpose and intention.
Okay, thank you so much in that, Mufasa. Moving forward, Nigeria Labour Congress has suspended its planned nationwide protest against the recent 50% hike in telecom tariffs approved by the federal government. The Labour Union announced the protest last week, citing the burden the tariff increase would place on Nigerians. However, following a meeting with government representatives at the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation on Monday night, the NLC resolved to halt the demonstration pending further discussions. Speaking to journalists after the meeting, NLC President Joe Ajero said the government had agreed to set up a larger committee to review the entire tariff structure. According to him, the committee will be composed of 5 representatives from both sides and is expected to submit its findings within 2 weeks. Ajero stated, "We emphasize that the NLC is the largest organization in Africa and no stakeholder consultation can exclude us and still stand." On that basis, they agreed to form a broader committee to ensure a fair and inclusive agreement to look at the entire tariff structure as a model to come out with a realistic and all-inclusive agreement. He added that the union's next steps, including protests, boycotts, or service withdrawals, would depend on the outcome of the committee's work, while the planned symbolic submission of protest letters has been put on hold. Ajero noted that the NLC remains concerned about other pressing economic issues, including electricity tariffs and burdensome taxes on workers. If I may say, if I'm allowed to say that, what was NLC? Should we say that NLC was looking for, it was seeking for recognition and not for the benefit of Nigerians, like they stated, because they just wanted to be involved. You know, if we have to take back how the 50% tariff hike started, teleco owners, companies asked for 100% increase, but the federal government, through NCC, said they had a discussion and agreed on 50%. Next thing, NLC decided to go on strike with reasons that it is too much for Nigerians